Well, hello, and welcome to T+T Doubleshot. I'm Trent, an architectural photographer, and this is Tim.
Tim, studio manager and retoucher.
Also known as the Wizard.
I better not get that reputation.
I think we can start an Instagram channel.
Yeah.
The Wizard.
Join the Wizard. Yeah, right.
Archie Retouch Wizard. We're gonna have to make some merch.
Yeah, right.
Get Tim in a wizard hat.
Think about that, yeah.
The Wizard.
Alrighty.
We'll grab a screen cap from Wizard of Oz when they pull back the curtain and there's the guy like pulling the levers. It's gonna be you with a pen.
They figured me out. Yeah. Hi.
Okay, so exterior image from 2100L, and there was a significant amount of wizardry to be done on this one.
Yeah, this was a lot of work.
All right, so my part of this, the data collection, right?
Photon
capture, my part of it. Photon capture and constantly being concerned with being able to value ourselves, to be able to portray our own, to be able to build our own value in relation to what clients need, so we can then get abstracted value from them to be able to then put that abstracted value back into sustaining our own lives is the really long form explanation of what we do.
Video coming soon or already dropped.
Right. And also we need to get feedback from people on that video to see if like, no, this will end your career. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's there's a part of that swirling around the back of my mind, but
oh, scary. All right, so compositionally and choosing when to pull the shutter, essentially here. So we had scouted this location for this specific composition from earlier in the day and chosen to come back here. This, I believe, was shot with a 24 top and bottom.
You can find out. Yes.
Yep.
24.
Top and bottom. This is the bottom part of the image, and then the top. You always know that as long as you get the top of the building in, putting in more sky is fairly simple, especially when you've got such a clean line. And so if I were able to get that in from the base of the image where I wanted it up to just a little above that, I would not have done a two-part.
Why not just shoot it with a 17?
17 will get even more distorted. A lot of times you can crop in on it and people won't really notice, but we're working completely within subtleties. It's in the subtlety where your value comes through.
With a 17, you're probably like in the intersection too, right? If you were, maybe.
What do you mean?
You'd have to move in closer, wouldn't you? Or no?
No. I mean,
because you're right on the edge of just having the whole thing in.
Right. Like I could use the 17 here and get the whole thing in one frame, but the building itself, instead of the top part of the building being here on the 24, on the 17, it would be a little more like that.
Right. Okay. And
so it's just you're exaggerating like this is essentially a 2-point perspective. So if you take the horizontal lines from either side of the building, on either side of the corner that we're looking at, those lines would converge at a single point on both sides. So they would like on one side and on the other side, 2-point perspective. 1-point perspective is where you're facing straight onto something all the lines converge to a single point. In doing it this way, the 24 will level those lines out a little bit more than the 17 will, and it'll feel a little more closer to like 50, which is typically about what your eye sees, roughly.
So usually we'll just frame your composition, get your bracket, and then just shift up, and then bracket again. Yep.
Keep the same shutter speed and everything else, and do it fairly close at the same time you do the other one, so your sun angles and everything shadow lines don't move too much. But I mean, we're just capturing the top of that, so it's pretty easy to just click a click, shift up, click, click, click. Now shift back down to getting lifestyle after that, stuff going through and all that. So we don't have all the layers in here of all the choices from lifestyle that we brought in. But where we placed the camera was to kind of get these natural stripes and everything else, just kind of helping to frame the composition. I know that we'll darken that down a little bit in post, and it won't be like complete zebra pattern that we're looking at and everything else. And then, you know, you allow for lifestyle to pass through a bunch, and then you can take that in post and put it in and mix it with other stuff. The thing we knew in shooting this that leads into post is this thing right on the corner. The client wanted that taken out, which was a huge amount of work for Tim to do, I imagine.
I had done it once, right? Because we had been there the
was
year
that still
prior.
on there?
Yeah, it was still
Second time?
here.
This is in
It
front?
was still there, but I think it was only one side. I think you were down this road here when we shot it on that side of it, so it was just that one face. But
so the things that I considered when composing this are primarily how much we can see down the street on both sides to give kind of the location, the idea of the surrounding location. Keeping these striped lines in, how low or tall we could go with the camera. Usually when we're shooting something of this scale, I'll have the camera up about as high as it'll go, just to not make it too exaggerated if possible. And then I think we were just past a light coming in over top of us a little bit maybe, or like there was a light pole, you know, on the corner like you see here. There's another one that we're having to work around. You know, we probably took those lights out in post on the left of frame
we did
there.
a little cropping in the
Cropping, yeah. So it was mostly just moving the camera around to where the things that interact with the building aren't so distracting that it's, you know, unpleasant to look at. So you want to find that best medium interaction and tension between the positive and the negative elements that affect the whole thing. And then do a bracket and then leave the rest up to the wizard. So that's exterior compositions to me are primarily about composition and lighting. The styling and everything else a lot of times is just not a consideration as much, because there's not as much that you can move, and the things that you need out or need moved are articles that are dealt with in post primarily, you know. So, you know, if there's a big trash can in front that was movable or something else,
or cones,
or cones or anything else,
just move that over.
Yeah, you can move it 1 foot to right, shoot, 1 foot to left, shoot, or just move them out. Or, you know, if it's a cone that's there for safety reason, just move it a little bit, shoot, move it back a little bit. Right. So that's where you have an assistant running around and doing all those things. And then, you know, styling is mostly in these situations about where you place your composition to accommodate what is there. And you want the interior of the building, if you're seeing into it, to be, you know, to a level that reflects what your client wants to communicate of that space. And then, you know, allowing for the additional styling of lifestyle to pass through enough to where you feel like you've gotten things in the locations where you think you want people or cars or whatever. And that's, you know, that's pretty much about everything that I do when I shoot buildings. I make sure I'm on a nice aperture that's going to reflect what I'm trying to communicate, either that the entirety of the building feels mostly, you know, in focus. It's a small enough aperture to where there's a large depth of field, unless for some reason you want to bring attention specifically to like a certain spot and you want to keep that depth of field shallow. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, let's hop over to Photoshop. That's the finished image.
Mm-hmm. Nice colors, nice lifestyle.
I keep thinking it's dark, but I'm at an angle on the screen, and we've got this, so
Is that better?
That's better. So let's start at the beginning here. That's what we were just looking at.
So you took the first image and
so I always start with the, you know, you shifted on this one.
Mm-hmm. So we didn't keep the entirety bottom of the image.
No, I think there was just too much crosswalk.
Yeah. And having that bottom of the crosswalk come to a point like we did in the other images was too much. And I don't know if you chose to do that or if I asked you to do that or Pascal asked you, but whoever did it, I agree with it.
I think it was a consensus.
Yeah.
So yeah, with a bracketed image like this one, I mean a a panorama, I guess.
Yeah.
I always start with the bottom because that has most of the information.
Right.
Like if I was to start with the top of it and then say, because I know that I think we had said, like, I know I can just put any sky in here I want. I just need that little triangle for the building. And so,
and I think when you kept most of that sky,
most of it, yeah, I think I added a little bit, but you know, when you're building a panorama, there's a line that you have to have in the image where you're blending the two, and you don't want that line to be like right here, like in the middle of things, because then you're blending two layers.
That's what you're
you
saying.
have to keep blending two layers to keep it even.
So you're mostly just gonna copy the top part of the building here and marry it in, and then deal with
my
the
line
sky
is like
going
to be like right here.
Yeah.
So I don't care about like keeping those layers consistent. 'Cause I'm not really working up here. Right. All the work is here. So if I can keep this as clean as possible, I'll always do that. So that's why I say to you, like, you know, if you're going to do the panoramas, try and get most of the image, or try and get most of the composition in one of the images, and then just wherever is the least distracting, just get that little piece.
Right.
So that's what we did. So I think in a situation like this, I'll just export from Lightroom and say, build a panorama without like repositioning or blending or any of that, because I want full control over all that. I don't want Photoshop making any decisions for me. So then I have to manually go in and
so you don't blend these all together in Lightroom and then work in Photoshop?
No, I just treat them like single layers, but then I've got my two. I'll adjust this, and then I'll sync it to the top portion so that the levels are all the same, and then I'll, you know, my, like, that's
your
layer,
cut between the two
cut
images,
between the two,
essentially.
yeah.
Okay.
So if you can just see if I can see, that's like just the top that I needed.
Right.
Whoop.
And looky there.
Back here. And so I'll do that first, but then once I've got those two together, then like if you see in the stack here, I've got, this is the top and these are the bottom. So I'll just work on the bottom portion first. And so it's bringing up the shadows a little bit to see in there. Bringing my highlights down because that's kind of hot right there on the side of them. It's catching all that sunlight. Where are we at? Wrong one. That's my highlights. I think, yeah. So that's it for my bottom layer,
okay.
Highlights and shadow wise. And then I've got my little top piece. And then I don't know if that's
bit of a gradient felt.
Yeah, that's a darker layer. I think the sky just darkened it down to push the emphasis downward. Yeah, that's it for the. It seems complicated, and it kind of is, but once you have a process in place, you're just doing the same thing with bringing your highlights and shadows in, but you're just working on two different layers, really, or two different sections. I think it took a little while to figure out how to get into like a really easy routine of doing it.
I used to do a lot more of these type of images that would be top and bottom because we were working on 35 millimeter, like 5D.
Yeah.
And the medium format of the Fuji is much closer to square than,
I think it's like a 4:3 crop or something.
Yeah. So you don't have to do it as much on the Fuji, but when you do, it's usually just a little bit of a part sometimes.
Yeah.
Occasionally we'll really push
and
it
you can
if we have to,
if the image is simple, you can just export it from Lightroom and it will build you a panorama that you can edit. But when Lightroom does it, it manipulates the image, so you can't layer things. So you lose it. It's really good for like a one-off or something. Like you just don't want like the software making choices for you in that respect. If you're worried about like adding layers on top, you want them to line up.
If you want a quick Instagram post, let Lightroom do it.
Yeah, quick.
But if it's going to be big and it's going to be professional, take your time and make your own decisions.
Right. I think Photoshop's good at. There's some things it's good at for, you know, taking care of things. Yeah, automation basically. And I like to have as much control as possible.
Would you say you're a control freak?
I'm a control freak. You guys don't know me, but I am a control freak.
All right, this shirt that we're going to build around your image of control freak wizard. I would wear that shirt.
I think I would do.
How weird would that be, though, to have someone show up to where you work with a picture of you on their shirt in a wizard hat?
Oh man.
Morning. Ah, not that shirt again.
Oh, let's see.
You show up to a job with who's that on your shirt? Oh, that's Tim.
That's me.
That's the. Why is he wearing a wizard hat? He's a control freak wizard.
So moving on. I just wanted some more interest up here in the sky. I think it just felt kind of empty and stuff, and so that's what this is. And this sky is just from a different.
Right. I like that outline. That's cool.
Can I see what I did? No. Probably only at like 10%. Yeah, you guess you can't see it, but
added some cloudage.
Oh no,
skyage. While having the building cut out.
Yeah. So, sky. Just some clouds, matching the cloud, making sure the clouds are the same. We don't have some fluffy clouds over here. You know, you want it to feel
thunderstorm.
Like yeah. Why is the sun over here too?
So before you go to retouch layer, I want to guess at what gets retouched out.
Yeah.
You let me know.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'm guessing maybe some of these signs, like the one-way, maybe this electrical thing, things on the doors in here, these signs continuing down. I know this was a huge issue that comes out, and I don't think it's probably as simple as what you're going to do in the retouch there.
Yeah.
But, all right, so start just clicking on the retouch, like pop, 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 pop. I was right about the signs.
Yep.
Oh, I missed the things. You took the manholes and stuff.
The manholes,
out there.
yeah.
Keep going back and forth.
The graffiti.
Where was the graffiti?
Well, there's always like graffiti, especially in a city, like on the roads.
Yeah, like just utilities kind of stuff. Yeah, stuff on the doors. There's something odd on the sidewalk
just
there.
A wet spot.
We
I
didn't
think.
take out that.
Well, see this.
It's pretty big with a lot of information behind
Well, this
it.
I hid. I think it's hidden behind traffic. I think I put some traffic here because there's a trash can and like, you know, I don't know. Like that's a complicated thing to take. I don't know what's behind there. So like, can we hide that without like? I don't want to hide the entrance, right? But if we could just hide this, maybe we'll do that. So
cool.
I don't know if I thought of that after the fact or what, but I think I just saw that. Like, I don't want to deal with that right now. I'll come back to it later, and I didn't have to. So the other thing I usually do is
you completed a stripe.
Yeah,
over
completing
here.
stripes on like sidewalk or on crosswalks. It's such a trivial thing, but it makes a difference. It just doesn't look like. It looks cleaner.
We should do a series of historic photographs retouched by Tim.
Yeah.
Like Abbey Road with the with crosswalk perfect
walk. Yeah, the signs, those are always like especially that one catches your eye, and nowadays we got like the COVID kind of signage on everything, and that's pretty easy to take out because I mean you're pretty far into the image here.
Right.
And so they're so small. Those are easy, but take anything out on the right? Yeah, this sign over here. I think you got most of it. That crane up in the
completed
top
that
left.
crosswalk stripe there too. Did you complete this one?
No.
Look at that.
Didn't take that one. This is hidden by a car too.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
What can I hide? If I don't have to do something, I don't want to.
Right.
You know, why not just hide it? And so if it makes sense, I'll do that. So traffic. See, I hid that over there.
Oh,
and
so
I mean, that's not hidden all the way, but it's hidden enough that you don't even notice it. And the trash can's still there.
Totes. I love the guy on the Lime or whatever they call those scooters.
Yeah, the scooter.
Whee. They actually have a protected bike lane.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, and then like we don't want traffic right here because we want to be able to see this part of the building. So it's really just kind of framing over here. Right. This probably shouldn't be. Now that I'm looking at it blurred. So, I think we posted this on Instagram and someone called out.
Someone?
Like, I think that guy's about to get creamed on the scooter.
Nice.
I'm like, yeah, I think you're right. That probably should have been.
No, you should.
It should have been.
He
like,
was
just
backing up
stopped.
because he was in the crosswalk too much. And
Right.
he
Yeah.
felt bad about it. So
he's going backwards.
This streak is going backwards.
You just can't tell.
Guys, Come on.
Or he's just coming to it. He's just screeching to a stop.
Yeah.
I guess I was thinking like it's to frame it with some cars, right? You got left and right.
Yeah.
It just closes the corners.
We should post produce some that look like real accidents about to happen.
Right.
See if people catch it.
Well, someone caught that, so that's a good eye.
Yeah.
I didn't consider that.
Another control freak wizard out there
Yeah.
called you out.
Right. And probably the thing I was waiting until. Yeah. The thing I was waiting until towards the end was taking the sign out. I was almost thinking like, I don't know if we can do that because there's nothing. You can't just repeat, like copy a window and just repeat it, right?
Yeah,
like, that's obvious. And there's so many like windows here that it's like, what am I going to do? Like,
I imagine Gandalf has these conversations with himself sometimes too. It's like these freaking hobbits, they keep doing all this stuff, but I mean, you made it look like an actual building, turning the corner and everything there.
Yeah, I mean, these are the layers are so like, I don't know if we have to go through all these, but there's a lot of them. Up here is easy because it's just the sky, but once you get into the building, it's like the building has to complete.
Did you just pull from and then manipulate?
I think yeah.
I mean, this looks like that was repeated.
I think it was like copying these three
really
windows here, moving them down.
Yeah.
But manipulating them enough so that it wasn't obvious that it's like, oh, he just copied that one. I mean, some of these are a little similar, right? But they're expanded, and I don't know.
You're not
going to know.
catch that.
You'll know now because you've seen it, but
you would have to stand there with the photograph in that spot and look at that and really study it to be able to know that anything was done over there. So
I think that one, I guess I would say that side was probably the easier side because you can't see into the building over here, really. Mm-hmm. This side you can, if you're looking down in here, you can maybe you can't. Maybe
Tim, I really think we're gonna have to do wizard shirts.
Yeah, I'm doing wizard shirts.
Everyone keeps making merch. I mean, I think that because when I'm on a site working, everyone talks about you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Everyone's like, oh no, he's got this guy back in the studio. He's amazing. It's like, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about the wizard talk, but maybe it'll grow on me. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned. We might have a merch store, but you need to have a shirt. We'll have to make you a shirt too. We just haven't come up with it yet.
Yeah. What's the personification of me?
We'll have a few months to think about it.
We'll have to make it like in kid sizes too, so we can get some for your kids. And they'd be like, my daddy's a wizard.
Oh.
All right. So how did we take out the other side of this? Just like that. That was so easy.
Just a click.
I like that you took out this window right there too, with that.
Right.
It's coming down. What is it? Oh, that's that.
It's like column. It's a column.
That's that column that was
it that round column?
I think no, because the round column was in the top floor. I think
it's a square column.
It's square. It's just a structural piece that's back there, that's probably coated in drywall. I don't know.
I think, but just taking it out, it wasn't hard.
Makes it better, much better. And then again, it's just kind of a redistribution of windows.
Yeah, the hardest thing about this was that you can't just copy these all down, right? And so like I didn't
toggle that back and forth now where it's at. Well done.
I mean, the hard part is like there's nowhere to borrow anything from.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like there's no other angle of this building where I can copy some stuff out.
You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have all this L-shaped series of windows to pull from. And you did a really good job of selectively.
I think it's mostly from up here because this.
How did you deal with this moving to the next window?
I think I removed these and like turned it into this just because I didn't feel like I could repeat this enough.
Yeah.
Because if I repeated this, it starts to dip down, and I didn't.
Yeah.
This was a hard thing to repeat.
You'd have a stripe if you did that, which would be really exaggerated. But because you made it kind of a general.
The lines in this are so like defined that when you repeat it, it would kind of feel obvious. Whereas this up here is a little more abstract, and so you can get away with repeating it, but not it being overtly noticeable. Maybe.
Well, it made it so much easier that they put that thing, that advertisement, whatever that thing is, like within clearly defined lines too.
Right.
And you're working in this very rectilinear environment of copying, pasting, but you just have to use your thought process of saying like, all right, how am I going to make this look like a repetitious thing of a reflection of something and not have it like a clone stamp mistake in a tree or something, you know?
Yeah. And so, you know, when you're pasting these in, you gotta kind of match the perspective on the
right.
the
You kept
and
this line going down and weird,
just
and this
inconsistencies because it's so kind of wonky.
Sometimes you have to be very inconsistent.
Yeah.
In a consistent manner.
And I think the other challenge was like you got the mullions on the inside there that you had to, because if you just copied one and started stretching it, you're stretching that, and then you've got the line of the, I don't know if it's the ceiling or like the shade line or whatever.
Right.
So thinking about that. Yeah, it probably took, like what, half a day just to do like this.
I'd imagine,
alone.
It's like you can cut those windows out and place them in probably within an hour, but then it's going to be all the massaging and the minutia and the like just standing back, turning your head, seeing what looks right and what doesn't, taking the image and moving it a bit.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
It's just so hard
to
you recreate things
Yep.
like when you don't have a lot to borrow from, because then you're just going off like, how can I make this, and not like, how can I necessarily just copy this? So
yeah.
Like I think I experimented
job,
on this with
it.
like creating a brush or some sort of pattern or something that I could just manipulate that had nothing to do with this, but that had the same sort of elements. And I think I couldn't come up with anything. So I came back to this. I just, that process of like, how I got to figure this out. Right. And there was a lot of back and forth between creating something myself or just using what's here. So that's where we ended up. And then of course, like there's like 7 exteriors. So it's like, you have to do this 7 times and it's not like, I can't necessarily just copy from this because I've done it once. Cause if it's daytime, it's not going to match
nighttime.
So you know, and the shadows are different, right? If you got different sunlight. And so it was a
new problem every single time.
Yeah, every time.
But we knew that this is one of the first ground up buildings that this firm was responsible for, and they were trusting us to share it, you know, so it's like, all right, no matter what, let's make sure we hit this out of the park for them. So
I'm trying to think next time, and maybe there's not like a way to, sometimes if you know something needs to come out, if like there's a pole or something, you'll just move over to capture, just use that. Like in this sense, I wonder if there was this way to like, can I shoot some windows or something? Like I wonder if that was even possible, because there really wasn't a
I
lot
would
of...
say no, because you need this reflection. You need not just those windows, but you need this reflection of the building over here. Yeah. And it's not like I could go over here and shoot that building, because then you'd have this crisp. That's not going to work. And there's no other windows down here that doesn't have this on it. And yeah, that's a really hard one.
That was a
and
hard one.
How you solved it, I did not envision how you could have done it when I was there shooting it. I just knew when I was shooting it that it's something that had to happen, and that...
Well, I had done it once already, because the year before we had done this face. I'd done it once. I was like, I don't want to do that again. Hopefully the sign's gone by the time you go back.
That's unfortunate.
But anyway, yeah. So I might have finished that, and then just like I'm shutting this down, and I gotta work on something else.
Finish that. And then you went home and took a nap.
Yeah, I gotta revisit this one on Monday.
So what's after that? Starting to work
adjustments.
with
I think I have
atmosphere.
a little bit of a glow just around the building there that I'm like, kind of, anytime you see a glow or haze around like a building,
glow,
it's like,
halo.
well, it reeks of like a sky replacement.
Yep.
So just
trying to make that
tweaking that a little bit.
Cut in.
That's the letters on the building.
Pink.
Those are really hard to make legible because it's so small. But
yeah, that's kind of
yellow,
adjustments of the yellow and everything inside. Yeah, the like when we're first looking at this, the yellow is really strong and kind of pumpkiny at the bottom, and taking that out a little bit really helps balance.
Brightening probably occurs, contrast layer just down into the
See
entryway.
it now, it's getting into that zone of like there's this more of a almost a silvery overlay of atmosphere and feel that's just a tiny bit cooler and has a feel to it that is balanced, and there's an evenness across it now, rather than these like dramatic blue, dramatic yellow, dramatic brick, dramatic street.
Right.
It's like all of a sudden the whole thing's becoming just a little bit more subtle,
Right.
and
bringing everything into like harmony, I guess you could say. So yeah, and then working my way from a larger scale, like down into the, we want to see the entrance. We want to see the
that's kind of the point where you're being
there and
drawn to.
That's what you're looking at. That's taking out some of the blue you were just talking about. It's really subtle. And then a color grade to it. I think
it's nice.
Went, you've got the sun right here, right? And it's warm over here, and to just kind of enhance that, I think is what this is.
So you could take this from this being an architectural photo to then like, all right, maybe we use this for an advertising photo for some like product or something else, like the feel that you would put into an advertising image rather than an architectural image. Like I could see someone putting in like a lens flare here and a lot more dramatic stuff, because there's this different expression of what is translating across the perception boundary from image to someone looking at it and taking something away from that image. There's a subtlety involved in architectural photography that's very important, that doesn't go to that extreme advertising post-production side of it, unless that client has thought that out and wants that approach. Right. If you come in as a photographer and try and play dramatic, tricky kind of weirdness of, ooh, look at what we can do in shooting and post-production and make this loud statement, that's a different thing about putting yourself ahead of the design that you're trying to communicate. And so there's always that sensitivity to that subtlety that we're working towards, I think. So
I agree.
That's all I have to say about that.
You notice I took out I think it was, you get this little, just the red light right in the center there.
Right.
So I just took that out. Like, well, it's in transition, hasn't changed yet.
Right.
We don't know what it is, but
yeah,
not that really matters. You know what I mean? But like to see the red light, you're like, it's just such a little like.
Well, it's an indicator too that this guy's breaking the law.
That's why he's there. There is no red light.
There's no red light.
I mean, you take that out.
Utility services failed day.
No one knows. Like, it doesn't. But
I'm amazed that these lights were not on when we shot this.
Which ones?
These guys, and I'm really glad they weren't.
Is.
Yeah, because those lower street ones are all on, but these guys aren't. And I'm really glad we missed that, because if that was on right there, drawing attention here and there, it wouldn't have been as nice.
Yeah, you get those like starbursts.
Yeah,
and those are just
the Fuji has a weird starburst that I don't really like.
It has
all
a weird,
much.
like a lens, like it flares on like lights or something.
Well, it has this weird amorphous kind of almost weird heart-shaped thing that it'll get. I think when you have the aperture wider open, it does that, and then when it's tighter, it gets into this very exaggerated starburst, which honestly, from what you get on file on the sensor, that's like one of my only complaints of the Fuji. Well, that's an exterior image that was easy to shoot and a lot of work to post-produce.
Exteriors are just tons of cleanup.
Especially
cities. Cities are just dirty.
When we first came here, there was still all the orange cones and construction, big, like the orange barrels and everything over here that Tim had to deal with, which was a huge, huge pain. And I think the day-lit exteriors were a little bit more high contrast, high attention to detail, probably in the post-production of that corner of that sign than this was even, I'd imagine.
I can't remember how difficult that was. For some reason, I don't think it was as bad as this. This something.
Really?
Yeah. Well, this is because it's on an angle. then you're dealing with the vanishing points, and that's just inherently harder than a flat surface. So
well, that's the exterior, and that's it for this project. In the comments below, please let us know if anyone out there would buy merch from an architectural photographer. I think it would be fun. I've seen everyone else, like even locally businesses and everything else, do it. I'm starting to buy and wear a lot more stuff from creators on YouTube that I actually appreciate. For some reason, I'm starting to buy my clothes more that way than from large stores, because I think it's just fun to support creatives and advertise them a little bit. Check out Donut Media. They're hilarious. Car history and everything. Just
so
wacky.
you're not wearing your donut shirt today.
Yeah, I know. I'm advertising Maine today. It's a horrible place. Don't ever move here.
Being quintessential Maine.
Sarcastic comment. But yeah, let us know if you want a wizard shirt for Tim. I would wear that.
We'll think about it.